Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bosk's Bounty video. And in this video I'm going to be reviewing the Star Wars The Vintage Collection Jedi Spirits Special Action Figure Set. This is a 3-pack that includes Anakin Skywalker, Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi in their Jedi Force Ghosts. Not only that, but the Anakin Skywalker also has a swappable head, so we are able to recreate whichever Return of the Jedi we grew up with. So if you grew up with the original cut, then we have the Sebastian Shaw head, and if you grew up with the special editions, then we have the Hayden Christensen head of Anakin Skywalker. I think that was a nice touch of Hasbro to include that, something that the Black Series does not have, but I also do believe that it was necessary as well. With all that being said, if you do happen to enjoy the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe if you're new, and we'll just quickly take a look at the packaging. Alright then, so you are probably wondering how I have this in hand already when it's not even up for pre-order. And you're probably wondering when you are able to pre-order this as well. Now, as far as I'm aware, you'll be able to pre-order this around the time of New York Comic Con and MCM Comic Con London, and I would imagine that it would ship pretty soon after that. Of course, I went for the import special option and managed to pick this up early, so you guys can check it out. What you may have noticed is that the racetrack design and all of the wording on the card have like a foil shiny look to it, and that is because in general when we get one of these special action figure 3-packs that are a convention exclusive, they tend to go with the foil. I can remember others that we've had in the line being that way. Of course, the most recent 3-pack that we got, the Stormtroopers of the Empire, was a standard pulse release, so it was non-foil, if you like, just standard packaging. Now obviously we're getting a lot of glare off of this. We're just going to turn it around very quickly. Once again, you can see that nice foil sort of effect to it, and there you can see the 3 figures that we get, and they've opted for the Hayden Christensen head on the back of the packaging. So we've got Anakin Skywalker Jedi Spirit, Yoda Jedi Spirit, and Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi Spirit. Not too much else going on with the packaging. We've seen these things before. Multi-language on the sides, multi-language on the front, which wasn't always the case, but it is these days. You know, we always get these with the multi-language now. You can't get them you know, with just special action figure set anymore. I guess they've done that for ease of delivery and stuff across the world. That's the packaging, folks, so we're just going to go ahead and open it up and check out the figures. Alright then, so here are the 3 Jedi Spirits out of the packaging. Some people call them Force Ghosts, and in fact I think that's probably what I call them, actually, Force Ghosts. And if there were ever 3 figures that just need to stand there and not do much else, it's these 3 figures. They don't do anything else in the movie apart from stand there and maybe nod occasionally. But I think they look pretty cool. They're obviously very scene specific, and they're going to look pretty cool in your Endor displays. Now, in this video, we will be taking a closer up look at all 3 of the figures, going through the pros and cons. And I also want to quickly compare the head sculpts of both Anakin and Ben Kenobi with their actual, you know, main releases. So I do have the old Ben Kenobi here as well to compare it against, and we also have this Anakin Skywalker from the Journey of Anakin Skywalker 3-pack to just quickly compare, because there are some differences from the paint applications as you would expect. And of course, without doubt, we're going to do the head swap as well for the Sebastian Shaw for the Anakin figure. But there they are. They don't really need to do too much else apart from stand there looking cool, and they do look pretty cool. And now we're going to take a look at how they've accomplished the sort of Force Ghost effect with these particular figures one by one, starting with Yoda. Alright, so here is a close-up look at Yoda, and you can see that he has a very sparkly Jedi robe. Of course, it's a smaller Jedi robe being for Yoda, but you can see the material that they've used. It's kind of like this. It's hard to describe. It's almost like see-through netting, if you like, but it does have like a glittery effect on it where it sort of shimmers in the light. I don't know whether the camera is picking that up or not, but I can certainly see it. And the head also has like a sort of shiny wash over it as well. So they haven't gone for the full sort of ghost look of the figures where even the heads are the sort of same color as the legs and the feet, like they have done previously with like the Power of the Force line and things like that. They've given him sort of like a standard head, but they've tried to make him look a little bit ghosty with some paint applications. And I don't know whether you can see it. It's just sort of shimmering there. It's almost like a sort of blue paint application, but I'm not too sure how clear that actually is. But as far as I'm aware, this is the Yoda that we got in the Dagobah 3-pack, which is also a reuse of the Attack of the Clones Yoda. Now, for me, that does present a few problems. For example, he only has swivel elbows, and his arm has already fallen out when I was trying to put the cane in his hand. If you also look at that cane as well, that has the same wash that the head does. So it has that sort of blue paint application across it, just to sort of give it that sort of ghostly look. You can also see that he has his little necklace on, which doesn't have any paint applications on it at all. That's probably deliberate. And from what I can tell, his little belt there is not removable. I can't really see anywhere on that belt where there's a fastener or anything like that. So I don't really want to risk sort of taking that off fully over his legs or anything like that. I don't want to break it. But for the most part, I can still open up his robes a little bit just so you can take a look at the figure. So he's got swivel hips. He does have knee hinges, and he does have swivel feet as well. So this Yoda doesn't really have too much articulation. If they were going to release a Yoda from Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, then I would want them to do an all-new Yoda, in all honesty, because this one does not have the required articulation. But considering it's just a Force Ghost, it's absolutely fine. It's just going to be standing there. You're not going to be really doing sort of any weird poses with him or any type of like acrobatic scenes or anything like that. He's dead after all. So there you go. That's Yoda. As I mentioned, his little cane. You can just see those paint applications there just to give it a bit of a shimmer. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Anakin Skywalker, and at this moment in time, I have his look from the special edition. So we're using the Hayden Christensen head. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. I don't know whether it's an exact reuse of the head that they had for the Journey of Anakin Skywalker. I feel it looks a little bit different, and certainly the hairpiece is different. So a lot of times on these figures these days, the hairpiece is an actual separate piece to the rest of the head, and you can definitely see that this head is more in line with a Revenge of the Sith look, if you like, in my opinion. You can see there, different hair completely. I actually much prefer this Anakin Skywalker, if I'm honest, but he does have the scar as well. But as I said, you can just see the paint applications on the hair and on the face. Very sort of thinly applied, and they've also used it on his upper torso here as well, and also as we go down the figure. Now, this piece here is actually plastic instead of soft goods, and they've done that because they want to accomplish that sort of spirit look to him. So the further you go down the figure, the more sort of transparent he becomes. But all the way across that figure, you have this sort of wash. It's a bit like what they use for the carbonized figures. That's what it looks like to me, just to give them that sort of shiny look. And then underneath there, he does have all of the articulation, barbell hips, all of those kinds of things, and completely translucent legs, as you can see. It's almost like a prototype figure, that. The robe fits him quite well. I'm not really going to go through the articulation on this because, as I said, they just stand there really, and he has full articulation as you would expect with any other new Vintage Collection figure. And even the plastic skirt does have the split up the sides, so if you did want to articulate him and pose him differently, then you could. The hood on the back is pinned down, just like the new Ben Kenobi. And that is Anakin Skywalker. But now we're going to do the head swap. So the Sebastian Shaw head does not remove at the sort of barbell on the neck. You have this whole sort of piece that goes down the front of his chest. And once again, we do have some light paint applications on the front of that using that sort of carbonized technique. But I did just want to take a look at that head sculpt very quickly while we have it, because I think they've done a great job with Sebastian Shaw there. I think that is perfect. Really, really well done. Yeah, that's great. So we'll swap it out right now and see what he looks like. And to be honest, once I've changed it, I think that's it. I'm going to keep it like that. So it's easy to remove. You literally just pull like so. That removes that piece there, and then you can see how that goes in, no problem at all. And we'll just place the other head on like so, and yeah, that looks loads better in my opinion. That is obviously how I remember it growing up. I did find it a little bit weird when they changed it. I can kind of understand the reasonings behind it, but I feel that this is how he looked when he was redeemed. So this is how he should have looked as the Force Ghost. Just my opinion. I'm sure if you've got a different opinion, you can leave it in the comments section below. But that's what I believe anyway. And wouldn't it be great if Hasbro gave us this figure on a original 96 card back? Because he was part of the last 17. And in fact, you can just see him right there in the cabinet. And that one actually has a much more of a ghosty looking face, much more pale. And there he is. Again, he does have a very slight wash on the head of that carbonized paint that they've used to just sort of make him look a bit more spirity, if you like. But that is Anakin Skywalker as seen at the end of the original cut of Return of the Jedi. Next up, we have Ben Kenobi, old Ben, in Force Ghost form. And there's going to be some reuse with this figure, of course, because, you know, we do now have that new original trilogy, or A New Hope Ben Kenobi, old Ben. So I would imagine from the sort of belt up that it is a reuse with the arms. But of course this one, like the Anakin Skywalker, has the hard goods or soft vinyl plastic on the lower robes. And it is different to Anakin's as well. The tabards that come down at the front are completely different. So both figures have different robes on the front there, as you can see. And of course, you know, they've done that because they want to accomplish this sort of Force Ghost effect on the clothes, if you like. And if we just move that up, you'll once again see that it is a translucent legs. And once again, as I mentioned, you know, looks very much like a prototype figure underneath. Just like Anakin Skywalker, the robe is made of that netting material with like a glittery effect going on. This one, I'm not overly happy with the hood. I think they could have done better with the stitching. I think that's probably just mine. It doesn't lay as flat as I would like it to, but I'm sure I can sort that out, maybe like that. And then in terms of the head sculpt, pretty sure that the heads are identical to one another. So exactly the same head that they've used, but of course this one has that sort of carbonized paint application that they've used across the body. They've also used it on the head, but it is definitely difficult to see on the camera. I hope it's coming through. But as I said, you can't really see it too much with the naked eye. I think they could have maybe gone a little bit heavier on it, but of course, you don't really want to make it look like it's just, you know, a head with a load of sort of light blue paint on it, really. So maybe that's really what they could have done with it, without sort of having translucent figure all the way through like they've done with the Power of the Force. But that is Ben Kenobi in ghost form from the end of the Return of the Jedi. So we'll just line them all up again with the Sebastian Shaw version, see how they look, and then we'll end the video. And there you go then, guys. There are the 3 Jedi spirits or Force ghosts from the end of Return of the Jedi. But this time we have the original cut version with Sebastian Shaw. And I am so glad that they've given us that swappable head, because obviously it pleases everybody. However you want to display them, you can do that. And for me, this is how it should be. And they're going to go very nicely in my little Endor scene. They can be sort of over to the side whilst those celebrations are going on. And yeah, they look pretty cool to me, don't they? So it's a nice set to have. It's definitely a set that I feel is worthy of like a convention exclusive. I feel it fits in quite nicely. And as I said, hopefully you guys will be able to pick up yours very, very soon, around the time of New York Comic Con and MCM Comic Con London. And I'm pretty sure that they will ship out pretty quickly after that. You know, if I manage to get one already, then I'm sure they're not too far around the corner. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members. As always, your support is always greatly appreciated, so thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.